We are just about at the end of the semester, and you have spent weeks and months building your lovely website. And now you would like to take it from a local host into being a live website that other people can use. Now remember that a local website means it's hosted on your computer and only people who have access to your computer can see it. And a live host means that anyone on the internet can see it. So what do we need to do to take it from local to live? And of course, we're only doing the local host because we can do that without spending any money. So you can learn about web design whether or not you plan to take this live. First of all, let's go to our dashboard. And we want to make sure that a few things are in place. We do want to look to see if we have any warnings where you see like contact and settings and Yoast. If you have any warnings on your plugins saying that things need to be updated, let's take care of them now. On the other hand, some of these warnings are not all that useful. So for instance, if I go to Yoast, it is here because it is telling me that I have a Black Friday exclusive that I can save up to 80%. And so I'm not interested. And so if I'm sure that I'm not interested in any of these offers that are here, I can then ignore them. And what I want to do is go to Duplicator and make a package of my website, how it is right now, so that it can be used to install onto a live website. Now, if you remember, Duplicator was a plugin that in my particular class we downloaded a long time ago, and I've had you practice with it. You create new, you give it a new name, and then you go through the steps in order to create that. And you can see my past video about Duplicator if you don't remember how to do that. All right, so that's one step we need to go through. Another step before we transfer it anywhere is you need to go to FileZilla and you need to download the FileZilla client for all platforms. Now, FileZilla is where we will have to store the files for our website as an intermediate step from taking it from the local host to the live host. We need to have an in-between step of some place that can access both sets of files and that we can move it through. So you will want to download FileZilla client. So you don't want to download the FileZilla server, no. FileZilla client. This is because you want to transfer the files to another system. So I will stop for the moment and just pause while you go ahead and make sure that you have your duplicator in your WordPress website and you have run the duplicator file. You have downloaded both the archive and the installer file, and you've downloaded FileZilla client. Hopefully you've done those last few steps, and also you need to consider what type of provider you would like to have for your hosting service. There are many out there. I can tell you that the one that I use is the HostGator, and it is their baby plan. And I just want to take a moment to say it's important to think about where you want to have your site hosted. So HostGator was first of all recommended to me before I even started working with websites. And in a moment of ignorance, I first of all signed up for a hosting package for a WordPress website because I thought, oh, this is what I want to learn. I want to learn about hosting websites. What I didn't know is that this would not give me access to all of the uh, developer tools that I need to really truly customize my website. What I wanted was the shared baby plan for HostGator, and um, this is what I needed to really be able to access all of the control panel items that I need to do what we need to do. So that's important to know. Whatever site that you choose for your hosting, you need to make sure that you have access to a control panel where you can access the MySQL database, and that you are able to add users to the MySQL database, and that you will be able to connect FileZilla too. Now, if you have a plan like this one, where you can't do all those things, it's not going to be very helpful. It's incredibly difficult to take kind of a cheaper plan and be able to do what we need to do. So this is what I used. Now, I am not saying that HostGator is the only way that you should go. There are lots of good hosting services out there. Certainly some popular ones would be Bluehost would be one I have used in the past for a website, and one of my TAs uses Hostinger, and so those are three. So I've given you names of three good ones. There are other good ones out there. You simply need to make sure that you can access the MySQL database so that you can upload your locally designed website and upload that to the live website. So those are questions to ask, and then most of the hosting services should have some kind of how-to videos or instructions for how to get there. I'm going to show you using HostGator how we get there. But again, remember, I'm not saying HostGator is what you need to do. This is simply what I have and want to go from there. And just as a moment of talk about how much do things cost, this shared baby plan, right now it is on sale. And I have no affiliate links. I make no money off of telling you this, but with a 36-month plan right now, the shared baby plan costs somewhere around $130. So I am spending, what is that, like 40 something dollars per year to have my website hosted for 3 years. It will probably be more after that because it's on sale. I think it costs a few hundred more than that normally. I think it's somewhere around 400 for 3 years without the discount. But I'm right before Thanksgiving, and that's what they're doing right now. At this point, hopefully you have taken all those preliminary steps. You have duplicated your website from the local host, you have downloaded FileZilla, and you have a hosting site for your live website. So let's talk about what you will do next. That you have WordPress installed on your site. And in order to do that, you can see, like right here, I have a control panel, which I'll talk about in a minute, but you see we have that we can install WordPress here. I'm going to actually just go into my control panel first, and I am going to take a look here, and there's a lot of things for me to see in here. One of the things I want to mention is that a number of hosting companies can use something that's called Softaculous, in which it will install and run everything for you. And so I would need to install WordPress. It's not automatically there, so you'll just need to make sure that your WordPress is installed before we go to our next step. And so I'm going to back up for just a minute, and next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to access our control panel. And as I mentioned, you have to be careful what kind of hosting plan you sign up for. If you notice, this one here, I have a control panel. This one up here that I signed up for before I had studied anything about web design, there is no control panel. So this leaves me many less options. So I'm going to go over here, and I am going to launch my control panel or cPanel. Your hosting company should have something similar to this for you. Now, what I need to do is I need to make sure that I have a database for the website that I'm going to be uploading. So create a new database, and here I already have some created, but let's just so you see what I'm doing. Whoops. Megan, oh, I want Dr. Megan Mo. I'm going to call this one test. And I'm going to create it. And that's created. Yay, great. I'm going to go back, and I am going to want to have a user, so we need to add a user, and so I'll do this Megan, and we'll have it lowercase Megan, and then I'm going to have whoops, I just mistyped, so I got to do that again. Okay, you could have also used a password generator if you want a random one. I just didn't. So I'm going to create the user. I'm going to tell it to save my password because I do that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I am going to add the user to the database. And so I'm going to do the one that I just did, and I'm going to add to, so I just created this Megan, Dr. Megan Mo test. I'm going to add that. And it's going to take me here, and I'm going to say I want Megan to have all privileges. So Megan can do all of these things. And I am going to make changes. Very good. So success, yay. And I'm going to go back. So that's an important aspect of what I needed to do here. Got everything I need there. And here is FileZilla. So FileZilla, you'll see there are two columns. And first of all, this is the column, the left-hand column is the one in which we look at our local files, so the files that are on our computer currently. And then the right-hand side will be where we will see the files for our live site, but we'll have to connect it to a server. So first of all, when you first open it up, there will probably be nothing here, and you will have to choose where your local file is for FileZilla to read. And we are going to want to put in the files we downloaded from Duplicator, your archive, and your installer file. Now what I typically do is once I download a file, I have installer and I have the zip archive, I'll usually do a right click and say new folder with selection, and then I'll name it something. And so let's just do Megan Mo website. This isn't the one I'm going to use in the example, but I'll just put this here so you can see. So now I have a title here. And if I open up a second window, I have another window here, and I open up my applications. I go into MAMP, I go into htdocs, and all I have to do at that point is to simply drag it into my htdocs and go into htdocs, and now it's in there. And then it gives me something that I could then connect to. What I'm going to connect to right now will be Dr. Megan Mo November 22nd test. And I want you to notice I did also make a copy of this particular folder with that archive and installer file, and I just named it copy because if anything catastrophic goes wrong with this one, I easily have another one available to work with. I don't have to waste time with going back online and logging in and downloading another one. It's just there. It took me 3 seconds to make a copy of it, and it would probably waste like 2 minutes if I had to go in and get a fresh download of it. All right, so that's my local files. Now I need to populate my remote site. How do I do this? I am going to go now back to my hosting site, and you're going to want to get into your control panel of your hosting site. Now for me on HostGator, I would launch cPanel, and then I get access to all sorts of tools that will be helpful, and also just basic information that will be helpful. One of the things is that I want to look at what my current username is, which is Dr. Megan M. And if I go back to FileZilla, I will want to put my username there. And I want to get my IP address, and notice it is my shared IP address as opposed to my last login IP address that I'm looking for. So shared IP address, it could be different on your hosting site, but it's basically where your live site is going to be hosted, what is the actual site where people would go to see your website, whereas the last login IP address is where I am kind of accessing all these tools online. And for host, I am going to put my IP address there. And now I need to put in a password. And here I am going to try to put in the right one. Although my memory can be bad, so this may take one or two tries. For port, I can leave it blank on HostGator. On another site, you might need to put in a port in which you would put in port 21. But HostGator has the default of port 21, so we don't have to put it in. And then I'm going to click Quick Connect. If it works, it will give me a set of notices that tells me the status, and if I see a red flag, then I know I've done something wrong. So let's take a look. Quick Connect. Looking good so far. Oh, all right, everything is good here. So I have connected to my live host, and you can see that now I have populated my, I've populated FileZilla here, and what I'll need to do next is take these files from here and put them into my live host or remote site side of FileZilla. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go down to where our files are that we had created from Duplicator. We're going to highlight these files. And of course I got to them because I had highlighted this particular Dr. Megan Moe November 22nd test, and these showed up. Then I highlight them. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click upload. Now I have already uploaded them, so I'm not going to actually click upload, but you would click upload and then it would tell you up here if it was successful. Now that we're done with that step, we are going to go back into our hosting service. And if you remember, I said I was needing to use Softacular or Softaculous in order to install and deal with my WordPress. So I'm going to scroll down here and click on the Softaculous, and I am now going to click on Login and be able to log into the website because I want to be able um, to finish deploying my duplicated file. Now, if for some reason you cannot get into your WordPress, you can always start a chat with somebody for the first time. I had a problem the first time. It wasn't recognizing my admin name, but I just did a quick 5-minute chat, and I was able to determine where on HostGator that they were putting the login information. All right, but once I got that figured out, now I can log in here and go to my dashboard, and I have already uploaded Duplicator well, I had to upload it as a plugin. Now most of you will have the plugin here where you'll have the regular Duplicator. I do happen to have the Pro version because I'm using this enough, so I do have the Pro version there. But it should work the same for you, in which instead of creating a package like we normally do, I can import. Here we are, the package is ready to install. Click the continue button to proceed. And this is asking if I would like to set a backup or recovery site. And since this is an empty website right now, I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to say launch installer. Now, a couple things here. Host is localhost, but database needs to be that database that we are actually using. And your username and password will be populated by your hosting service. It's whatever they've created for you. And so you can see my username is this swanfgil-896. No idea why it's that, but it is. And now you can see I have the username and the password there that HostGator gave me. And if I haven't done it already, I need to hit apply, saying that I'm ready to connect the databases. Apply. All right, and I'm going to hit validate, and hopefully this will tell us that it's good, and we can save password if we want. All right, so it gives me a couple notices, but fortunately it has told me that it has connected my databases, which is good, but it is giving me warnings because it is telling me that I am going to overwrite what's already there. And let's see, what else is it telling me? Difference in database engine and a PHP mismatched. I've already tested this in my local host, so I believe it should work. So I am just going to accept and hit next. And then I'm going to say OK. And let's see what happens. Now tells us that everything has gone over all right, and we should log into our admin account. Now it wants me to sign into WordPress, and it is going to give me as first options the sign in that my host has given me, which would be either the admin or that WANFGL number. But what I need to do is sign up under the WordPress that I used in my local host, or it won't recognize it. So let me go ahead and sign up there and click remember me. I'm going to save that. Yes, ma'am. And let's look. Visit site. It is here. It's there. It might not be perfect. Sometimes things are broken when you bring them in, but you can fix it. But the bones are there. All that we worked on in class is now live. So this is great news. Can't wait to see your websites when they're live. You can do it. Remember, if you have troubles, that's pretty common in trying to migrate from a local host to a live host. And most of the hosting services should have a lot of help pages and chats that you can do online or phone calls in order to troubleshoot. I've used them many times myself. There's no shame in that. Go ahead and use them because each host might be slightly different. So go ahead and ask questions and do whatever you can in order to get your site online and live. Good luck, and I can't wait to see your work.